Only 9 exercises matter after 70. Let me tell you something important. Something I wish someone had told me when I first started feeling the weight of my years pressing down on me. You see, age has a way of creeping up on you. One day, you feel as vibrant as you did at 20. Then suddenly, your knees creak when you stand, your back stiffens when you sit too long, and your energy just isn't what it used to be. It's easy to think this is just how it goes. That once you hit 70, you're destined to slow down. But that's not the whole truth. The truth is that most people give up too soon. They accept weakness and fatigue as an inevitable part of aging. But it doesn't have to be that way. Not if you're willing to fight for your vitality. I've walked this path myself. I've felt the fatigue, the aches, the frustration of not being able to do the things I once did so effortlessly. I remember the day it hit me hardest. I was playing with my grandkids, trying to keep up with their endless energy. But I just couldn't. I had to sit down and watch from the sidelines. In that moment, I felt old. Really old. And it broke my heart. I knew I didn't want to live the rest of my days as a spectator in my own life. I wanted to be active, involved, full of life. So, I started searching, asking questions, talking to people who seemed to have cracked the code to staying youthful even in their 70s and beyond. What I discovered changed everything. I learned that it's not about working out for hours a day. It's not about punishing your body or trying to move like you did in your 30s. It's about doing the right exercises. Just 9 of them. 9 movements that are simple but incredibly powerful. These exercises work because they target the muscles and joints that keep you moving smoothly and pain-free. They're not about getting six-pack abs or bulging biceps. They're about reclaiming your independence, your energy, your life. I remember when I first started doing them. I was skeptical. They seemed almost too simple. But within weeks, I felt stronger. I stood up without groaning. I played with my grandkids without needing a break every few minutes. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel old. I felt alive. And that's what I want for you. I want you to feel that spark of vitality. To wake up each morning without feeling like your body is a burden. It begins with the first exercise. The one that seems the most basic, but is incredibly powerful. It's just standing up and sitting down. No fancy equipment needed. Just a chair. You sit down and stand up slowly. Controlled. Using your legs, not your arms. At first, it might feel harder than you expect. I remember my legs shaking the first time. But that's okay. That's proof that you're waking up muscles that have been asleep for too long. Then there's the wall push-up. It's not about proving how strong you are. It's about maintaining the strength in your arms and shoulders. Strength you need for everyday tasks. I used to struggle to lift heavy grocery bags or push open heavy doors. But after doing wall push-ups regularly, those little struggles disappeared. Another crucial movement is the heel-to-toe walk. It looks silly at first, like you're walking on a tightrope. But it's essential for balance. I can't tell you how many of my friends have fallen because their balance just isn't what it used to be. One fall, one broken hip. It can change everything. But by practicing balance now, you're protecting yourself from that risk. The leg lift is another one. It keeps your hips strong and stable. I used to feel this nagging pain in my hip every time I took a long walk. But strengthening those muscles made it go away. And I could walk without worrying about pain slowing me down. Then there's the toe stand. It's as simple as rising up on your toes and lowering yourself down slowly. It keeps your calves strong and your ankles stable. And if you've ever felt your ankle wobble when you step on uneven ground, you know just how important that stability is. Don't forget about the shoulder roll. It's not about building muscle. It's about keeping your shoulders moving freely. I used to wake up with my shoulders so stiff I could barely lift my arms. But daily shoulder rolls loosened them up. And now I move without pain or restriction. The marching in place exercise keeps your legs strong and your heart pumping. It's a gentle way to keep your cardiovascular health in check. You don't have to run marathons. Just march in place for a few minutes a day. I do it while watching TV. It's that easy. And then there's the side leg raise. It's simple but effective for keeping your hips and lower back strong. This one saved me from that awful lower back pain that used to keep me up at night. I never realized how connected everything was until I started strengthening the muscles that support my back. Finally, there's stretching. I know. Stretching doesn't sound like much, but it keeps you flexible. It keeps your joints moving smoothly, and it prevents injuries. I stretch every morning now. It wakes up my body. It makes me feel ready to face the day. These 9 exercises are all you need. They don't require fancy machines or expensive gym memberships. Just a bit of space, a few minutes each day, and the will to keep moving, to keep fighting for your vitality. When I first started, I could barely do a few repetitions without feeling exhausted. But I kept at it. Little by little, I got stronger, more balanced, more energetic, and I got my life back. I've seen so many people give up. They accept the aches, the stiffness, the fatigue. They tell themselves they're too old to be active, too old to feel energetic. But that's not true. It's never too late. No matter how old you are, no matter how long you've been feeling tired and weak, you can change that. You just have to start. I'm not sharing this to sound wise or impressive. I'm sharing it because I know how it feels to lose your vitality, to feel like your best days are behind you. And I know the joy of getting that vitality back, of waking up feeling strong, of playing with my grandkids without getting tired, of living my life fully instead of watching from the sidelines. So don't wait. Don't tell yourself it's too late or too hard. Start with just one exercise. Even if you can only do a few repetitions, that's enough. Because each time you do it, you're reclaiming a little bit of your youth, a little bit of your energy, a little bit of your life. And if you keep going, you'll get stronger. You'll feel better. And you'll prove to yourself that age is just a number. I may be old, but I refuse to feel old. And you can too. These 9 exercises are my secret, my gift to you. They're simple, they're effective, and they work. You just have to start. So, stand up, move, reclaim your youth. You deserve it, and you're stronger than you think. Now, let's clear some common questions. Can incorporating these exercises reduce the need for certain medications or medical interventions? Let me tell you a story. It's not just any story. It's my story. It's about how I learned that movement, the simplest kind of movement, could do what bottles of pills couldn't. You see, there was a time when my days began and ended with a handful of medications. Blood pressure pills, painkillers, tablets to help me sleep, another to ease my aching joints. And yet, despite all those pills, I still felt trapped inside an aging body that didn't seem to listen to me anymore. I remember sitting at the kitchen table one morning, my pill organizer spread out in front of me, each compartment packed with colorful little tablets that promised relief but never quite delivered it. I looked at them and felt defeated. Was this it? Was this what life over 70 was supposed to look like? A never-ending cycle of popping pills and waiting for the next doctor's appointment? I refused to accept that. There had to be another way. I started asking questions, talking to people who looked far more vibrant than I felt, people who moved with ease and laughed without wincing. That's when I first heard about these 9 exercises. 9 simple movements that seemed too ordinary to make any real difference. But I was desperate enough to try. I didn't have anything to lose. I started slow, real slow, standing up and sitting down from a chair. Just that. It seemed almost ridiculous at first. But after a few days, I noticed something. I didn't have to push off with my arms as much. My legs felt stronger, more reliable. Then I added wall push-ups. At first, my arms shook. I could barely do a handful. But I kept at it. Every day. A little more. A little stronger. And then one morning, I realized that the pain in my shoulders was gone. I could lift my grocery bags without grimacing. The changes were so subtle at first, almost easy to miss. But they were there. Little by little, I felt my body waking up, coming back to life. It wasn't just about feeling stronger. It was about feeling capable, feeling independent, feeling free. I remember the day my doctor told me my blood pressure was better than it had been in years. He asked if I was still taking my medication regularly. I admitted that I hadn't needed it as often. The numbers just weren't high enough to justify it. He looked at me with curiosity. I told him about the exercises, about how I was moving more, sitting less, and feeling better because of it. He smiled, said he'd heard similar stories before, but seeing the proof in my chart was something else entirely. As the weeks went by, I kept up with the routine. Heel-to-toe walks that made my balance steadier, toe stands that strengthened my ankles, leg lifts that took the pressure off my hips. My daily painkillers gathered dust on the shelf. I didn't need them anymore. I slept better. I moved better. And yes, I lived better. But it was more than just getting off painkillers. It was about regaining control over my own body, my own life. I remember talking to a friend of mine. He was struggling with diabetes, taking pills to keep his blood sugar in check. I told him about my experience, about how these exercises weren't just strengthening my muscles, but also my heart, my lungs, my entire system. He was skeptical. I don't blame him. I was too at first. But he gave it a try. Started with marching in place during his favorite TV show. Added in some leg raises. And slowly, his numbers started to improve. His doctor cut his medication dosage in half. It felt like a miracle. But it wasn't magic. It was movement. Simple, purposeful movement. I'm not saying these exercises are a cure-all. I'm not saying you should throw away your pills and rely solely on a bit of stretching and lifting. But I am saying that they can make a difference. A real, measurable difference. I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in my friend's life. And I've heard the same story from others who dared to give it a try. One day, I found myself looking at that same pill organizer. But it was nearly empty. Just one little tablet left. One pill instead of a dozen. And I felt a sense of victory. Not because I hated the pills, but because I loved what it meant. It meant that I was stronger than I thought. That my body was still capable of healing, of thriving, even after 70. I wish I could go back in time. Tell my younger self to start moving sooner. But life doesn't work that way. All we have is today. And today I move. Not because I'm trying to defy age or chase after lost youth, but because I want to live fully. I want to be there for my grandkids. I want to stand tall, walk steady, laugh without pain, and live without fear of falling apart. So, can incorporating these exercises reduce the need for certain medications or medical interventions? Yes, I've seen it happen. I've lived it. These movements wake up your muscles. They strengthen your heart. They stabilize your joints. They help your body do what it was designed to do. And in doing so, they reduce the need for pills and procedures. Not by magic. Not by some miracle. But by simply helping you reclaim your body. Your strength. Your life. I share this story not to preach. Not to brag. But to give you hope. Hope that no matter how many pills you're taking, no matter how stiff or tired or broken you feel, you can change that. You can start small. Just standing up and sitting down. Just marching in place. Just moving. And then keep moving. Because each step, each lift, each stretch is a step toward freedom, toward strength, toward life. I'm an old man, but I'm not done living. And neither are you. So move. Start today. Reclaim your life. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find that you need fewer pills and more adventures. Fewer doctor's appointments and more laughter. Fewer limitations and more life. You deserve that. We all do. And it's never too late to start. Are there specific lifestyle changes, such as diet or sleep habits, that enhance the effectiveness of these exercises? I have walked this earth for many decades. Long enough to see the seasons change countless times. Long enough to learn a few truths about life and the body that carries us through it. One of the most important lessons I have learned is that nothing works in isolation. Not medicine. Not exercises. Not even the food we eat. Everything is connected. Intertwined. And if you want to get the most out of these 9 exercises that matter after 70, you need to look beyond the movements themselves. You need to look at how you live, what you eat, how you rest. It took me a while to understand this. When I first started with these exercises, I was excited, determined. I stood up and sat down from my chair. I did my wall push-ups and my leg lifts. But after a few weeks, I hit a wall. My energy ran out halfway through. My legs felt heavy. My motivation waned. I thought, maybe this is just what getting older feels like. Maybe my body was too worn out to keep up. But then I remembered something my grandmother used to say. She'd look at her garden and tell me, "You can't grow strong plants in poor soil." It hit me. My body was my garden. And if I wanted it to grow strong and healthy, I needed to feed it right. That's when I started paying attention to what I was eating. I used to grab whatever was quick and easy. Toast with jam. Instant noodles. A candy bar for a quick pick-me-up. But I realized that my body was running on empty calories. I was feeding it convenience instead of nourishment. So, I made changes. Small ones at first. I started with breakfast. Swapped out the sugary cereal for oatmeal topped with berries and nuts. It was simple but filling. I noticed I didn't feel as sluggish mid-morning. I had more energy to do my exercises. I kept going. I made sure every meal had something green on the plate. Spinach, broccoli, even just a handful of lettuce. I added lean proteins like chicken, fish, and beans. Foods that helped my muscles rebuild after the workouts. And I drank more water. A lot more water. At first, it felt like a chore. But soon, I noticed the aches in my joints weren't as sharp. I was moving smoother. Easier. It amazed me how much difference food could make. I felt lighter. Not just in weight, but in spirit. Then I thought about sleep. I had always been a night owl. Staying up late watching television or scrolling through my phone. But I read somewhere that the body repairs itself while you sleep. That it needs rest to grow stronger. So, I made another change. I turned off the television an hour earlier. Put the phone away. I made myself a cup of herbal tea and read a book instead. At first, it was hard to fall asleep. My mind would wander. But slowly, my body found a rhythm. I started waking up feeling rested. And when I did my exercises, I wasn't fighting fatigue. I had more energy. More strength. It felt like my body was cooperating with me. Supporting me. I also learned about the importance of timing. Not just what I ate, but when I ate. I started having a small snack before exercising. A banana. A handful of nuts. Something to give me the energy to push through. After the workout, I'd have a protein-rich snack to help my muscles recover. It worked wonders. I stopped feeling sore and stiff the next day. I could keep going. Keep getting stronger. I felt like I was finally getting somewhere. One day, I was chatting with a friend at the park. He was complaining about how tired he felt all the time. How his knees ached and his back hurt. I asked him what he was eating. He shrugged. Said he didn't think it mattered much. He was eating whatever was easy. Canned soup. Processed snacks. I told him about my changes. How eating real food, whole foods, had made me feel alive again. He looked at me skeptically but agreed to give it a try. A few weeks later, he came back to me. Said he felt a difference. His energy was better. His pain was less. He was moving more. Living more. I smiled. It felt good to share what I had learned. I realized that exercise was just one piece of the puzzle. A vital piece, yes. But only one. To make it truly effective. To get the most out of each movement. You need to support it. Fuel it. Rest it. Your body is like a machine. If you give it the right fuel and let it recharge, it will perform better. It will carry you further. I'm not saying it's easy. It takes commitment. It takes discipline. But it is worth it. Every bit of effort pays off. Not just in strength, but in vitality. In freedom. In life. I don't feel 70 anymore. Not even close. I feel strong. Capable. Like I did decades ago. It's not just the exercises. It's how I live. How I eat. how I rest. It all works together. I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in others who made the same changes. I've seen it in the way we move, the way we laugh, the way we live. If you're wondering whether lifestyle changes like diet and sleep habits enhance the effectiveness of these exercises, let me tell you, they do. They absolutely do. These changes don't just complement the exercises. They amplify them. They make each movement count for more. They turn effort into progress. They make you stronger, healthier, more alive. I share this not to boast, but to inspire, to give you hope. No matter how old you are, no matter how worn out you feel, you can change. You can grow stronger. You can feel better. It's never too late. Start today. Eat better. Sleep better. Move better. Live better. It all matters. And it's all connected. I wish someone had told me this sooner. But I'm glad I learned it now. Because now, I get to share it with you. And maybe, just maybe, it will change your life too. Just like it did mine. How can someone stay motivated to consistently perform these exercises, especially on low-energy days? I have lived long enough to know that motivation is a tricky thing. It comes and goes like the wind. Some days, you wake up feeling invincible. You feel ready to take on the world, to do every exercise with energy and purpose. But other days, the body feels heavy. The mind feels foggy. You look at that chair you are supposed to stand up from 10 times, and it feels like climbing a mountain. Those are the hard days. The days that test your resolve. And if you are not careful, they can steal your progress. But I have learned a few things about staying motivated. Not just for days or weeks, but for the long haul. It starts with remembering why you are doing it. Not just for the sake of doing exercises, but for what those exercises give you. Freedom. Independence. The ability to live your life on your own terms. I remember the day I realized this. I was struggling to get out of a chair. My knees were stiff. My back ached. I felt trapped in my own body. That moment scared me. I thought about all the things I could lose if I did not get stronger. My independence. My ability to play with my grandchildren. Even simple things like walking to the mailbox or getting into my own bed. I did not want that kind of life. I did not want to be a prisoner in my own body. So on those days when I do not feel like moving, I remember that fear. I remember what is at stake. And that pushes me to get up and do it anyway. But fear alone is not enough. You also need hope. You need to believe that these exercises are making a difference. That they are worth the effort. I have seen that proof firsthand. I remember when I first started. I could barely do 5 sit-to-stands without feeling winded. My legs would shake. My heart would race. But I kept going. Day by day. Little by little. And one day, I realized I was doing 10 of them without breaking a sweat. I felt stronger. More capable. I was reclaiming my body. My life. That progress became my motivation. Every little victory. Every inch gained. It was proof that these exercises worked. That they were giving me back my freedom. I also learned to be kind to myself. Not every day is going to be easy. There are days when fatigue hits hard. When every joint feels stiff. I used to beat myself up on those days. Tell myself I was weak. Lazy. But that only made it worse. It made me dread the exercises. It made me want to quit. Then I realized that it was okay to have low energy days. It was okay to go slower. To do fewer repetitions. The important thing was to keep showing up. Even if all I could do was 3 push-ups against the wall. Even if I needed to rest longer between sets. It was still better than doing nothing. It was still progress. I learned to celebrate the effort, not just the outcome. To be proud of myself for trying. And that kept me going. I also found that routines helped. I used to do my exercises whenever I felt like it. But that made it too easy to skip them. So I made a rule. Every morning, after breakfast, I would do my exercises. No excuses. No delays. It became a habit. A part of my day, like brushing my teeth or drinking my coffee. It took away the decision-making. I did not have to think about it. I just did it. And once I got started, I usually found the energy to finish. It was getting started that was the hardest part. So, I tricked myself. I would tell myself, just do one exercise. Just one. And once I did one, I felt good enough to do another. And another. Before I knew it, I was done. Another thing that helped was having a community. I joined a local senior exercise group. We would meet at the park twice a week. We would laugh, talk, move together. It made the exercises feel less like a chore and more like a social event. I made friends. Friends who understood the struggles. Friends who encouraged me on tough days. And I did the same for them. Knowing that others were counting on me kept me accountable. It gave me a reason to show up, even when I did not feel like it. It made the journey less lonely, more meaningful. I also learned to mix things up. Doing the same exercises every day can get boring. It can make you feel stuck. So, I tried new things. I walked around my neighborhood on some days. I danced to my favorite songs in the living room on others. I even tried yoga, which I never thought I would do. But it kept things interesting. It kept me excited. It reminded me that movement can be fun, joyful, not just a task to check off a list. Looking back, I realized that staying motivated is not about feeling excited every day. It is about finding reasons to keep going, even on the hard days. It is about remembering why you started, celebrating every little victory, being kind to yourself, building routines, finding community, and keeping things fun. It is about choosing to fight for your freedom, for your independence, for your life. What success stories or real-life examples exist of people reclaiming their vitality through these 9 exercises? I have seen it with my own eyes. I have witnessed people who thought their best days were behind them find new life, new strength, new hope, all because of these 9 exercises. You see, age has a way of making you feel like you are losing pieces of yourself. Your energy, your mobility, your independence. But I have learned that it does not have to be that way. Not if you are willing to fight for it. Not if you are willing to move. To push through the stiffness, the fatigue, the doubt. I have seen it work. I have seen it change lives. And I am here to tell you those stories. Stories of real people who reclaimed their vitality, who refused to give up. I remember Margaret. She was 78 when she first walked into our exercise group. I will never forget the way she shuffled her feet. Small, cautious steps. Her shoulders hunched forward. Her hands gripped tightly to her cane. Her face looked tired, worn down. She told me she felt like she was disappearing, like her body was betraying her. She could barely get out of a chair without help. Her knees hurt. Her back ached. She was scared. Scared of falling. Scared of losing her independence. But she was also determined. Determined to fight. To keep living. I started her on sit-to-stands. It was painful to watch at first. Her legs shook. Her face tightened with every effort. It took her almost a minute just to stand up once. But she did it. Then she did it again. And again. She did it every day. Even when she did not feel like it. Even when it hurt. She kept showing up. And slowly, things began to change. Her legs grew stronger. Her balance improved. I will never forget the day she walked into class without her cane. Her shoulders were back. Her steps were steady. Her face was brighter. She looked alive again. I asked her how she felt. She smiled and said, "I feel free." She went on to dance at her granddaughter's wedding. To travel to places she never thought she would see again. Margaret did not just regain her strength. She regained her life. Then there was John at 82 years old. A former athlete who had lost his spark. He used to run marathons, play tennis, hike up mountains. But arthritis had stolen his mobility. His joints were swollen. His movements were stiff. He was angry, frustrated. He felt trapped in his own body. He told me he felt useless. Like his life no longer had meaning. I could see the pain in his eyes. Not just the physical pain, but the emotional toll of losing who he used to be. I told him it was not too late, that he could still fight, still move, still live. We started with wall push-ups, gentle movements to wake up his muscles, to rebuild his strength. He struggled at first. His arms trembled, his shoulders ached, but he kept going, day after day. Even when he did not feel like it, even when it felt pointless, he pushed through. And his body responded. His arms grew stronger. His posture improved. He started moving with more ease, more confidence. One day, he showed up with a tennis racket. He said he wanted to play again. I watched him on the court. His movements were slower than they used to be, but his spirit was just as fierce. He laughed. He ran. He played. John found his spark again. He found his purpose. And it all started with those simple exercises. I think about Helen too. She was 76 when she came to me, a widow who lived alone. Her family was worried about her. She was becoming frail. She had lost weight. Her muscles were weak. She struggled with balance. She was afraid of falling, of becoming a burden. She had stopped going out, stopped socializing. She felt isolated, lonely, like her world was getting smaller and smaller. I knew she needed more than just physical strength. She needed hope, connection, a reason to keep moving forward. We started with leg lifts, just small movements to build her stability. It was hard for her. She was embarrassed by how weak she felt. But I reminded her that every effort mattered, that every little step was progress. She kept going, week after week. She got stronger. She moved with more confidence. But something else happened too. She started talking to people in the class. She made friends. She laughed. She shared stories. She began to come out of her shell. One day, she told me she was going to visit her sister. She had not traveled in years because she was afraid of falling. But now, she felt strong enough, brave enough. She went on that trip. She reconnected with her family. She came back with a sparkle in her eye. Helen did not just rebuild her muscles. She rebuilt her life. These are not just stories. They are reminders that it is never too late. That age does not have to mean weakness. That movement is power. I have seen people transform themselves. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. I have seen people find joy again, hope again, life again. And it all started with these 9 exercises. These simple movements that woke up their bodies. That gave them back their independence, their freedom. So, if you are feeling tired, weak, defeated, if you are losing hope, if you feel like your best days are behind you, remember these stories. Remember Margaret, John, Helen. They were just like you. They struggled. They doubted. They felt pain. But they did not give up. They fought for their lives, for their joy, for their freedom. And they won. You can too. You just have to start. One movement at a time. One day at a time. It will not be easy. It will not be quick. But it will be worth it. I have seen it happen. I have lived it. And I believe you can too. Because these 9 exercises are more than just movements. They are keys. Keys to a better life. A stronger life. A freer life. And it is never too late to turn that key. To reclaim your vitality. To live fully. Boldly. Joyfully. You deserve that. We all do. If you liked today's discussion, don't forget to like the video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to stay updated with every video we release. And yes, don't forget to share your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Every comment is special to us. Your feedback helps us improve further. We'll continue to meet you in every new video on this channel, so until next time, take care.